Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. How's it going, everybody? Feel like I'm in some kind of weird ethereal plane with this music. Kind of wild. Hey, Sapphire. Hey, Rihanna Journey. Diginenigans. What's up, everybody? All right, here we are. I'd say I didn't remember what we're working on, but I do. Sorry for the late start. Might be a bit of a short stream today. There was a lot of stuff at work to do, and there remains a lot of stuff at work to do, so we'll see. Chip brains. Here we go. Rhiannon, it's been a busy day for you. A couple of meetings, wrapping up lots of little projects. Context switching has been hell. The actual work hasn't been bad. Context switching is not good. I have like a semi-annual like check-in with my boss. It was supposed to be this week, but we ran out of time, so we're doing it next week. And that's one thing I'm going to bring up. I'm going to be like, I have so many daily concerns that I've had no time to work on the projects I'm supposed to be working on. And let alone process improvements that would give me time to work on these things. Oh my lord, we're getting a raid. Right at the top. Hey, Mr. Magoo. How many variables are we naming today? Hopefully none. We'll see. Raid alert. Starlight Lacuna, how's it going? Thank you for the raid right at the top of the stream here. Appreciate that. What excellent timing. How have you been? What have you been working on? Hey, Stargate Blue. Welcome in, Raiders. This is Digital Iliad. We're working on an FTL-like, kind of isometric 2D FTL-like that we're making in Godot. Don't be afraid if you see some C#. It's totally normal. It's not weird at all. How are y'all doing? But yeah, yesterday we laid the groundwork for reworking the cutaway system, which we'll work on instead of arbitrary rectangular bounding boxes. It's gonna that created this kind of neat terraced away look. We're switching to a system where we develop a kind of cutaway hierarchy or room hierarchy. So we know all of the rooms that are in front of other rooms. So if we want to look into a specific room, we merely cut away all the blocks that belong to the rooms in front of the room we're trying to look at. And that should automatically solve a ton of problems. It might not look as cool as our terraced effect, but it will be consistent. So, let's give it a try. See if we can finish setting that up today. Lacuna, you're doing great. You're doing well. You were working on a virtual pet game in Godot. You're messing around with the dialogue manager plugin today. Oh, cool. I have not messed around with that. I've been thinking about dialogue more and more often. I realized I need a template for simple dialogue exchanges, and I don't have one. And that would be really useful to have one for both this game and for game jams and stuff. So I should check some out. You've been using Dialogue Manager? Nice. I know a lot of people talk about Dialogic. I don't know if that's the same thing. Hey, Arneo. Well, thank you for the raid. If you got to run, no worries. We'll be hanging out here for a couple of hours. I think I've seen some of your project, but I need to check back in. Yeah, let me hit you with the shout out. I always forget that part. I get so caught up in the excitement. Yeah. Welcome in, Raiders, and all the regulars. Raiders and regulars, and everyone in between. All right, so what we need to do is we need to rework this function specifically, cutaway interior blocks by cursored rooms. We actually probably need to rethink these other two functions as well. I don't think there's anything we can do about cutaway exterior blocks. That's just the raw, like, cutaway all blocks in front of this block along, like, strict axis this lines. That probably will need to be remain. We actually probably, what we probably want to do is have modes that run depending on what game state we're in. So this else should probably be like an else if game state is edit state. Should probably, I'm gonna add a little to do here. To do only run this if we're in an edit game state. You've used Dialogic. Are we still on the cinematic music station? Yeah, we are. You're right. Let's chill out instead. You've used Dialogic in the past, Starlight, but this is the first time you're trying out Dialogue Manager. They're different frameworks, so you're still wrapping your head around how to use it. Yeah, no worries. It's a comment. Yeah, okay, you've identified the only class of comment that I condone, which is a to-do. I would say a warning is in there too, but a warning is just a kind of to-do. A warning is just an honest to-do of like, maybe I'll put a note that says like, this requires this to work. But that's just a to-do saying we should probably uncouple this from whatever thing is required to work. You gotta go get lunch, you'll leave the lurk. Hope you have a wonderful stream. Thank you so much, Starlight. Appreciate that. I know. So yeah, this is the one kind of comment I will condone. Partly because of the syntax highlighting. I actually notice them and read them. But yeah, so I'm not sure about the cutaway interior blocks, like cutting away the blocks inside a room. I haven't decided how I want to handle that yet. So let's disable it for now. We'll leave this one in. But yeah, the function we really need to rework is this. So let's work on that. Do I actually use this? Yes. No. Maybe. Oh yeah, I do use it. Okay. So this bounds function is not what we want. We actually just want to remove bounds. Where's the function? There it is. I want to take this out. What is the actual list of things? Oh, hey. Unemployed programmer. About how far are you in the process of the game creation? 5%? Maybe? We're doing tools design. We're doing a lot of tool work. So it's hard to gauge how much speed up we're getting from the tool, obviously, before we use it. But we've made a gamble that we need a lot of tools. And so we've been working on a lot of tools. So I don't know. It's hard for me to count that. But we've been working on an editor tool, like an auto tiler, which is not a tool, but it's like, we've been working on a lot of underlying tech. Very little actual gameplay programming. But welcome in. How's it going? Oh, dear Lord, it's true. There's no comments. Yeah, no. Your comments usually are explain how this works so you won't forget about it later. I find that just means that I did a bad job writing the code, which is usually the case. But yeah, I don't like the comments because what if I change the code, I have to change the comments. I would love my code to be self-documenting. Obviously, I rarely get there. But I find comments are not usually helpful because usually when I write the comment, I have an intimate familiarity with how the system works. So if I come back later and I don't know how the system works, a bunch of comments that presume that I remember how the system works aren't helpful. And it's like, I don't know. I'm not going to defend my lack of comments. People will either agree with me or they'll disagree with me. I'm okay with that. Yeah, Rhiannon Journey, your favorite comments are like private character name string equals Steve. Set the character name to Steve. Yeah. You love to-do comments, especially with an IDE that lets you see them all at once. Yeah, I like to-do comments. To-do comments are good. A comment should capture something that's not in the code, right? And a to-do is a great example of that because you're like, I know how I want to write this, and it isn't written that way yet. So that's a to-do comment. You're like, I know how this should work. And if you're writing comments because you're capturing like implicit state or something like that, where you're like, this system depends on this other system to be in just this configuration. Like if the player's name is not Steve, the save system stops working or something like that. Like that's not good. Commenting is exhausting. You can't be reasonable, choose a side. I know. I should be, for the sake of engagement, I should be as inflammatory as possible.
Maximum warp
position here. Hey, no Jewel, maximum warp. I've been waiting for you. I wanted to shout something out that I saw that I was like, oh, heck yeah, this is No Jewel. Have you read the November newsletter, No Jewel? The Godot newsletter for November? The Node letter? Let me show you what's going on in the Node letter. Look down here. Energy shield. And what's the energy shield? Oh my god. By No Jewel. Look at you getting into the Node letter. Had you noticed that? Nix, you knew a coworker at your last job. You were programming in Apex, and the game named their variables after fruits and vegetables. Even though the code had nothing to do with that. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. No, you haven't? Yeah, you're in there. You're not even you're the third entry. Made with or for Godot. Energy shield. Super cool. Look at you in the Node letter. The November Node letter. I'll drop a link. They post those in the Godot Discord, but they don't tag anyone. Node letter, yeah, Node letter is pretty good. I actually happened to stumble on Emmy's Q&A, which is called Godot Tomorrow, which is pretty good. I just saw that this morning. You know, this morning America time. It seemed like it was nighttime for Emmy, but that was cool. I got to try to tune into more of those. And they don't advertise them. But it was just Emmy answering like mostly sarcastic questions about the engine. Anyway, what are we doing? We're rewriting this function. I was checking to see what the parameters we want to pass in are. So we need a new thing here, right? We need to read something about the I can't speak. We need to read something about the hierarchy here. So we got the block forms, we got the block rooms. We need the cutaway rooms. So we need variable cutaway. We'll say preview. Should we say preview? Do we need to specify that it's the preview? I don't know if we need to. Oh, this is called block cutaways. That's going to be confusing the way we've done this, but that's fine. Let's do some renaming. Arnio, you think your comments relate to how you're kind of early in the learning curve, so what you need is constant reminders about how even basic stuff works. It's kind of like revising for a test. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I always forget how GDScript works every single time I go to use it in a game jam. So I don't think that's unreasonable at all. Yeah, the fact that this reads preview blocks is kind of wrong. I actually need to change the way this works. I wonder how I should handle that. I guess we just pick a different entity depending on what state we're in, maybe. For now, this is fine. So this is going to be cutaway rooms. It's a new buffer only block rooms. Does this work? Yeah, this should be fine. I should actually probably rename block rooms to like room field or something like, or I don't know. I don't know. These underlying types should be more generic. But it's okay. It's okay. Game.world.getComponent. Cutaway rooms buffer. Game.editSystem.preview blocks. Hey, Fusionist, how's it going? How have you been? Here we go naming things again. I know, it's a constant battle. It's pretty good. We took most of last week off. Had a nice holiday. Nice American Thanksgiving. Lots of food. I was sent home with lots of food, so I've been kind of letting it ride. It's been very good. But yeah, back at work. Starting to maybe dig myself out of the hole that is post-holiday madness at work. I say post-holiday. We're still in the middle of the holiday. For some reason, the craziest time of year at work is always between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I think it's because a lot of people have like crazy weird time off. We always try to squeeze in a bunch of stuff before the end of the year. It's crazy. It's crazy times. It should be the most quietest time of the year, but it's actually the most insane. So we're in the thick of it. But yeah, how are you doing? What have you been up to? Any jams recently? You're like the jam. You were the slayer of game jams. Pretty incredible. All you do are LDs? That's all you do? Your LDs kill it every time. That's crazy. You only do LD. You should check out Down to Jam. It's very similar in structure to LD, but you get an extra day, which is nice. It's 3 days for everyone instead of 2 days. You wanted to join Down to Jam? Yeah, no worries. They're gonna keep doing it, and I'm hoping they start introducing a little more time between Ludum Dare and Down to Jam, because I know it was intended as a replacement, quote unquote, when Ludum Dare was canceled, and then it was uncanceled, but they'd already kind of set their dates. So I'm hoping they kind of start to separate the two jams out a little bit, because it seems like you end up doing like a bunch of jams all at once and then nothing for a while. I say you, I mean like one, like me. I end up, all the jams I want to do happen in the same like 2 months, and then there's nothing for like 3 or 4 months after that. So I'm hoping that they'll kind of mess with the dates a little bit. You've been good though? You've been working on a little RPG project? Nice, nice. Yeah, it's nice to have a longer term project to work on. For sure. Okay, I haven't done anything yet. So block cutaways, block forms, block rooms. Cutaway rooms. Go in here. Okay, I need to be a little bit more formal about the names here. Do some renaming. Oh, block rooms. Yeah, I should probably make a new underlying type. I don't know. We share an underlying type, which makes it a little confusing depending on what you're looking at. These types are just wrappers for bit fields, so it's almost kind of dumb that I have them. But different things require bit fields of different lengths, so I like having a wrapper in case I change the underlying implementation. Let's not worry about it for now. Might be a good spot for it to do. Okay, so what's this? So this function is based heavily on bounding boxes still. We need to rewrite it in a way that doesn't care about bounding boxes. Game's 100% complete now, right? Hey, Obsidian. How's it going? How have you been? How's the project? I've caught a couple of your streams now and again. Game's 100% complete now. Someone asked me earlier, and I think I said 5%, which I think is generous. But it depends on how you count it, you know? Is your percentage based on time? Is your percentage based on content? Because the gamble we're taking is that we're making a lot of tools, which will make it easier to make the content later. So it's like, I don't know, 5%. Yeah, that's just a number. I don't know. It feels generous. Sounds like an MVP to you. Ship it. Yeah. Don't mind that we've been doing this for almost 2 years. Yeah, how's everyone else's stuff going? It seems like people are making some good progress. Rhiannon, you're working on some monster stuff and some combat. Nice. Well, you're hearing you'll have 20 more map editors when the game's done? Exactly. You make it sound like game dev is hard and time consuming or something. No, I don't know why you would think that. We can make a game in 3 days, right? What's this taking so long? Why is this taking so long? All right, so cursor bounds is something we heavily depend on. So the way this is kind of written, it lets us get that terraced look because we essentially set an early bounds for the cutaway and then we expand it as we go up. All of that's going away. So honestly, I should probably just wipe all of this. So we need the cursor chords, then we need the cursored rooms, which are the rooms that the cursor is over. I have a get absolute in here. Oh, that's because cursor chords is a relative coordinate. That's fine. So we really just need this cursored rooms thing because we're really just gonna, all we're gonna do is go through. I guess the only thing we need to do is figure out whether the Z level matches, which is good because the Z level is not relative. Like, we never flip the camera up or down. So the Z coordinate doesn't ever change with the camera rotation. Yeah, no worries. I know it's hard to make progress on anything over the holidays, Sapphire. A little bit of progress every once in a while is good. Oh, Nanigans. You got tomorrow and Friday off. Main reason you're off is to deal with some potentially expensive car repairs. Ooh. You're not touching your game right now much. You got a few other projects you want to get done before the holidays. Yeah, it's hard to manage priorities during the holidays. There's a lot of stuff fighting for your time on the holidays for sure. All right, so the trick we need to do is we need to distinguish between our Z level and the Z levels above us. So I think it makes sense to do one pass at our Z level and then successively go up. I think that's good. Okay, this is the old way we did it. Oh no, this is the new way we tried to do it that was like very much not performant. So, but we actually this is the skeleton that we want. We want kind of this version of it. This is actually more the structure of what we want rather than the one above. So I'm actually going to comment out this one. We just got to do the renaming for these. No idea there were so many games named COD. Okay, so yeah, this is more or less what we want. And yeah, so we're going to start at, so do we use forms? We only use forms for a safety check. But we don't need to because we could just throw this one in here. So we could actually get rid of this forms. We don't actually need to know the forms, which is convenient if that's true. Y'all are too funny.
He's dead, Jim.
Arnio, you finally rebuilt your project in miniature form for the demo. It was frustrating, boring, and only made you realize how many dependencies there are and how hard it is to splinter off things from the main project. It's super hard, and it's really making me want to switch to using plugins for a lot of my underlying tech. Like, the fact that my entity component system is tightly coupled to the game project it helps in one sense, but it's also very problematic in another sense. Especially because I want to use it for other things. So yeah, I'm thinking about starting to create more of a nest of plugins to help manage that. Because yeah, I'm having a hard time with that too. That can be really annoying. Especially if you want to have like multiple quote unquote SKUs for a project. Like if you want to have a demo, and the demo, you want the demo to be like, yeah, it's annoying. Because if you make it totally separate, then it doesn't get any of the progress. You don't get any progress when you work on the main thing until you port the changes back to the demo or vice versa. That can be really annoying to manage for sure. Sapphire, you have some good news pertaining to your business starting. Your profile got verified today and is now public. You should be getting potential bookkeeping client emails any day now. Hell yeah. That sounds good. All right, so this is already written in the form that we want, where we do one pass at the Z level that we're currently on. We can skip all of this checking our neighbor's BS. So if not block rooms, index dot has any cursored rooms, continue. So this is 0 continue. Do we actually care about that? Should it actually be instead? Oh, we actually need to do... Oh, this is kind of unfortunate. I actually want to make a new value. So cursored rooms, cutaway rooms. I'm already unhappy with the variable name we selected last time, because I actually need to build a new value that accounts for, because a block could belong to more than one room. I actually needed to check multiple rooms in the hierarchy. Or I need to combine multiple values of the hierarchy. So like if you belong to 2 rooms, you need to look at the cutaway rooms for both of those rooms and need to combine that into a single field. So let's do that. All right, so what do I want to... So it's a block rooms. I could call it like combined rooms. That's not great, but I'm gonna probably... That's probably what I'm gonna do. So we need to do like 4... integer room in cursored rooms. So for each of these rooms in this... So why do you have a problem with this? Oh, I need to say for each. So for each room in the cursored rooms... So for each of these, I need to make a combined value. So we basically need to say combined rooms dot set. We'll need to say combined rooms equals combined rooms. I should do this explicitly, like with this. Actually, I could do this as an or equal. Or equal block rooms dot... Oh, it's just or equal room. What am I talking about? So it actually, we want to specifically make sure we don't accidentally include the original cursored rooms. So actually, no, we don't want to add room. What we want to do is we want to add cutaway rooms room. I'm starting to use this word so much that it has no meaning anymore to me, but I don't think that's particularly avoidable. All right, so this should get us a field that's a combination of all the rooms that are obscuring the cursored rooms, the rooms that the cursor is actually in, which again can be more than one if you're on a wall. So if you're straddling more than one room, it will report both of those rooms. Arnio, you're not sure what to do tonight for your project. You think you might have to start working on some way to do limited ammo missiles. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, you need some kind of limiting factor. It can either be such that like you do have a limited number of missiles, like a la FTL, or you could do it like Star Trek style, where like your main limiter is like energy. Like you could just make more missiles. Or it could be a function of time, where like more missiles are assembled, but it takes time to do it. Is it weird to remove braces for each? I think it's a little weird, but I'm gonna do it. So this will recursively go through. Oh, that's actually more complicated than this, huh? Well, maybe not. I don't remember how this works, because there's two different ways that this could work, depending on how we build the hierarchy. Either we build the hierarchy so that we only look at rooms that are immediately in front of the room, or we keep going until we reach the edge and add all the rooms that are in front of, that are between us and the camera for a given room. And I honestly don't remember which one we do. I guess I could read the code and figure it out. There's a safety check that we need to make at some point. Because it is possible for the compartment hierarchy to be... Man, I like compartment hierarchy. That's a good term. I like that a lot better than cutaway rooms. I use the word room because I wanted something much shorter than the word compartment. But I like compartment. Problem is I'd be tempted to shorten it. Comp. Or something. And I already have comp. Comp is such an unhelpful term. It's like it could refer to so many different things. All right, but let's see how we do this. Do we do this recursively until we've captured all of the rooms? Or do we only look at the immediately adjacent rooms? I'm thinking that what we do is we look at the immediately adjacent rooms, and that's all we do. For each room in rooms... Okay, where's rooms come from? Bitfield rooms, buffer.get coordinates. So for each coordinate, we look at the rooms on that coordinate. And then we cast forward one block. Okay, so I think we have to do this recursively at the next step. Xbox has blah, 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 blah. If not, Xbox has a room. Hierarchy.span room equals hierarchy.span room set positive xblock.clear room. I honestly don't know how this exactly works. I haven't actually used this in a while. This is where like a debug visualizer would be super helpful. Like if I could see the colors of different rooms and stuff. Or other things. I would love to have like a debugger. Later on, you're trying to figure out your code and trying to figure out what the composite hierarchy is for. Yeah, I mean, I know what it's for. What I don't remember is any of the implementation details. Which, you know, I could just read the code and then I would know the implementation details. Stop first, hierarchy.span.set. Okay, hierarchy.span index set. Negative zblock.clear index. Span index. So the hierarchy of this room is set. And it's set for these rooms, but minus the very room we're setting. Okay, that's great. That's great. Because no room should ever have itself in its own hierarchy. So I actually think I'm doing this correctly. But it does mean the hierarchy just refers to immediately adjacent rooms. And that's not going to be sufficient. So I think that's correct for the hierarchy itself. Like, each room should just know what rooms are in front of it immediately, because we can just look at that room and then figure out what rooms are in front of that. So, like, we can search the hierarchy recursively, but we don't need to build the hierarchy recursively. So in this system, we're going to need to search the hierarchy recursively then. So this little loop I have at the beginning is not sufficient for what we're trying to do. So I can't just do this. I can't just do for each room in cursored rooms. I have to do a deeper search than that. Okay. See ya, Magoo. Take it easy. Nanigans make different types of ammo by combining different nodes. Oh, that'd be cool. Nanigans, if one of your turrets or material nodes on your ship get damaged, you could manually reroute the paths to go to a different turret, etc. I want to do some cool stuff like that. I really want to do that with like power distribution, where like maybe your left side gun, maybe somewhere along the line, like the power conduit's been damaged. So you're like, okay, let's reroute the power to this other gun. Or maybe the guns are all fine, but you just don't have enough power, so you have to like decide which systems you want to power. I love that kind of stuff. I think the two main activities of my game, moment to moment, is going to be like distributing power and distributing crew members. Of like, you're going to be trying to route your systems, and you're going to be trying to route the crew to either work the systems or repair the systems. I think that's going to be big. Oh yeah, Nix, you were saying that you'd spent a few days trying to make a low poly character. No, they all look so terrible. You're afraid of opening Blender lest you get cursed by it. Yeah, I think that's hard. People always say that. People will say like, in a lot of cases, doing low res art is like sometimes harder. I think in the context of pixel art, it's easier, but most people say, a lot of people will say otherwise. But yeah, I think for modeling, that can be very true, because you're trying to represent something. Like, the more fidelity you add to something, usually the easier it is to represent it. But like, if you have a very limited amount of fidelity, it can be really hard to like make something in a way that like actually is recognizable. I can appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know if you can reconcile the idea of realism with low poly. So, how are we going to do this deep search? And the irony is I had some code that did this sometime in the long ago. It would be impossible to go find it, though. So, what we can do is we can identify a room. Yeah, we need to do this recursively somehow, which probably means I need to write this as a function. And against low poly resolution is typically easier if your artistic skills aren't strong. So lack of detail hides your shortcomings. Maybe. But yeah, I think it also requires like a pretty strong sense of like, I don't know. Abstraction is hard. Like abstracting something in such a way that you can still recognize it and it still communicates what you want, I think is hard. Whereas I think if you go for like photorealism, you're just kind of like, you're just making up for it with like detail, right? Hey, the ant, how's it going? Arneo, you don't know if you'll do different types of missiles. Probably there will be modes like intercept and pursuit, but you were thinking you'd track each PDC's ammo separately, and then if one runs out, you'd have to rotate your ship to cover missiles coming from different sides. Yeah, I think that's a good problem. I think that's a really neat problem to have. It's not PDCs, but I always think back to like the turrets in the movie Aliens. Like watching the ammo counter go down on those turrets and Aliens is like such a tense moment. I think that's really interesting, that sort of thing. Where you're like starting to measure, you're like, how much engagement time do I have on this until it's exhausted? I think that's really interesting. Nix, you feel like you're stuck right in the middle of the uncanny valley. You're at soft teddy bear plush with real human teeth. Oh, okay. So like the Sonic, like the original designs for the Sonic films. How are you doing, the Ant? You're weird. Okay. Keep it weird. Keep Portland weird, you know? All right, so how am I going to do this recursive thing? So the first layer is probably going through each room and cursored rooms. Yeah, this is going to need to be like a recursive function. That's okay. We can make that work. So let's make a function. I don't really want to call it combine rooms or something like that. I want to call it like... Yeah, maybe I do want to call it combine rooms. I don't know. Let's not worry about it. What we want to do is we want to return a bit field. Oh, what we want to actually return is a block rooms. Let's call it combine rooms for now. Yeah, it does sound cool. Nix. Careful you don't end up in FNAF territory. Comedy can be a good way out of the valley. Yeah. Or it's just context, right? Like one of the reasons one of the first, you know, CGI films was Toy Story was because, you know, they have people. There are people in Toy Story, but they look kind of weird, right? So it seems better for like your main characters to be toys, because the expectation is very different for what a toy looks like versus a person. So I think you can contextually get around that sort of thing. I did say FNAF Alien, but as a warning. The Baby in the Tin Toy short is a good example. I'm not familiar with that. Or maybe I am and I don't remember. Tin Toy short. Oh, it's a short film from 1988. Okay, yeah, that probably is a great example. Oh yeah, for sure. That is a great example. Oh my god, is this the origins of Billy? Is this Billy's origin story? And I didn't know that? Wow, that's so crazy. Yeah, the toy looked great, the baby looked horrible. Exactly. That's the problem. That's hilarious. I heard a quote from the actor Will Poulter recently, where Will Poulter was like, someone went up to him and said they recognized him from Toy Story. And he was like, how do I explain to him that Toy Story is from 1996 and is animated? That was great. But they thought he was Billy from Toy Story. He does kind of look like him. Not a lot, but kind of. It was funny. All right, so what are we doing? So we're going to go through, we're just doing this inner loop, right? It's just this loop that I had defined up here. This is like the whole thing. For each room and rooms. We can say combined rooms. Hey, Bazoo TV. Just play along. Yeah, that's usually the response, the correct response. When someone says something totally unhinged to you, just try not to engage. How's it going? Welcome in. Say combined. Oh, I need the buffer. I need to pass in the buffer. Buffer read only. Block rooms. Buffer. They might call this input. We'll call this output. And then we'll say for each room in the buffer, no, not in the buffer. We'll say for each room in the input, the output gets ORed with the buffer's entry for that room. This isn't totally right. Or more specifically, this like will like accrete, not accrete. Yeah, accrete's a good word. It's like this will recursively search the rooms or combine them, but it will do so in a way that's kind of inefficient because it's going to redo all the work each time. But I don't know if I care. Obsidian Black, totally random. Every time you see block rooms in the code, you keep reading it as back rooms. You feel a sort of way about that. Do you feel a little bit liminal about that? Someone showed me the Minecraft server they're in, and it's like based on the back rooms. It's super weird. Super weird, like Minecraft variant. All right, so this isn't great, but it will work because it will work recursively. The problem is it just does... It does each recursion level of work every time it's run. Like, it keeps adding another layer. Like, it'll do the first layer, and then the second time you run, it does the first and second layer, and then does the first, second, and third layer, etc. So... I guess I could get around that by just using it as the difference. If I feed it back in the difference, that should actually be okay. Maybe it's not okay. Oh no, because output doesn't equal input. Output just equals the result of the work. Okay, no, this is fine. This is fine. Great. This will actually be okay, I think. code. That's a lot of diacritical marks, Ant. Oh no, don't look out the window. There's something on the wing. Something on the wing. Yeah, don't be so diacritical. App. Nix, you're going through the Blender market looking at different low poly model. Maybe get some to save you some time. Most of the ones you see are tagged as low poly game ready assets are 50k verts, 150k triangles, etc. How is that low poly? That's a good question. That is a good question. I think stuff is crazy. I mean, if you look at like a model of like Kratos from like Ragnarok or something like that, you can kind of, the high res models are, or high poly models are high poly. But yeah, I think low poly is just better. Like Valheim. I love Valheim. I think Valheim feels more low poly than it is because of how low res the textures are, but like, yeah, I love it. Okay, you're leaving. That's like medium poly. Yeah, that feels pretty high poly to me though, honestly. I don't do enough 3D modeling to know what you should expect though. Okay, so we still have to call this recursively. How are we going to do that? Would be my question. So what I want to do is I want to run a loop. Man, I've already done this and I don't remember how it works. Oh, thank you for beaming up. Still needs work. How's it going? 20 months subscriber streak. That is incredible. How's it going? Happy holidays, etc. To be fair, the Blender market is probably gonna be pretty high res. I think you'd have an easier time searching on like the itch.io market or something like that. So I think the standards that people have that are like quote unquote modelers, I think they have very different standards of what qualifies as low res or not. You're doing good? How am I today? I'm great. Came back yesterday from a week-long vacation. We're chilling. We're not getting very much done, but we're chilling, which is maybe means the same thing. Yeah, the tagging just seems irresponsible. All right, so I hate thinking about recursion. So we're trying to come up with a field that captures all of the rooms in front of the rooms that we are interested in. Let's pretend for argument's sake that it's just one room. So if room A is obscured by rooms B and C, but room B is obscured by rooms D and E, and room C is obscured by rooms F and G, then eventually we want some kind of field that includes all of those rooms except the original one, except room A. We'd eventually want a field that has rooms B, C, D, E, F, G. But our hierarchy doesn't straight up say that. Our hierarchy just lists the rooms that are in front of other rooms for each individual step. And in fact, some rooms might refer to the same. So like room E might be in front of both rooms D and C, right? So I need to recursively call this. So we're going to start with just room A. And then what I could do is I could do the initial lookup. What I really want to do is a recursive lookup from there. I'm really hoping we don't have a crazy situation where room A is like both. Here's the thing that's really concerning. What if one of the rooms that's in front of some room that's in front of room A, what if room A is then also in front of that room to some extent? Like when we're talking about rooms that are multiple levels or something like that. What if we have like a cyclical dependency? What does the cutaway system do in that case? I don't know. I don't want to think about that. But it's definitely something that could happen, and we need to think about it eventually. Hey, the Ant, you're going to go see a movie on Friday? I have a feeling I know which movie you're seeing. I want to go see Zootopia 2. And more importantly, I really want to see Wake Up Dead Man, the new Knives Out film. That I really want to see. But I don't think that's out for another few weeks. Or maybe another 2 weeks. What if you have a function that returns itself? We can live with that, as long as it doesn't do so infinitely. Yeah, I'm a little worried about a cyclical dependency now that I think about it. I don't think that would practically occur very often, and in fact, we could actually make that a criteria of the validity system, such that we don't allow for that. Or we could come up with some workarounds to prevent that from practically being a problem. You could imagine like a big cargo bay where there's like maybe an airlock down at the bottom level, but the cargo bay is so big it like overlaps the airlock, so the airlock considers the cargo bay to be in front of it, even though the airlock is already in front of the cargo bay. Like I could imagine scenarios where that sort of thing happens, but I think there's ways around that. Because I think that's more of a problem for in terms of Z indexing, like up, down, like multiple levels. Nanigans, compared to film-ready models, pretty much all game models are considered low poly. I think that's a really good point. I think that is a really good point. Because, yeah, I mean, how many polys does... I don't know, I can't actually think of a computer-generated movie character that's modern, but... Bowser, I don't know. How many polys does Bowser have? That's probably a bad example. Or like Final Fantasy The Spirit Within. How many polys did those models have? Probably a lot. I know that movie's like 20 years old, but that's the only one I can think of. You first heard about Zootopia 2 yesterday? Kind of weird they didn't like advertise the movie at all. Oh, they advertised it. That movie is on its way to $1 billion theatrical run. my god, one of the songs in the Zootopia OST is called Hot Pursuit, as in hot pursuit with an F. That's wild. So wild. Yeah, I think that'll be fun. I'm really excited for Wake Up Dead Man though. I'm all about those like murder mysteries. All right, am I gonna write this function or am I just gonna yap the whole stream? I think we know the answer to that. Hot pursuit with 2 R's would have been better. That actually would have been better. That would have been better. You didn't get any advertisement at all either? Well, you might not be the demographic, you know? Most of the advertisements were probably international, if I'm being honest. Because that's a huge market. I think the domestic take for big blockbuster movies like that now is significantly smaller than the international take. So, yeah, I don't think we're, you know, the target audience for a lot of these advertisements. Although, I mean, I say that people are everywhere. A lot of the people I'm talking to right now would be considered international. So I don't know. I think it depends a lot about your market and also the avenues that they would have to advertise to you. Like if you watch the Disney Channel, you'd probably get an advertisement for it, right? Yeah, let's not delve too far into that pun, that OST pun. All right, so what are we gonna do? So I think the thing that we can do is we can start from the cursored rooms. So the combined rooms doesn't equal the cursored rooms. The cursored rooms are the initial input. Output equals 0 for each room and input. Output equals buffer room. Okay, excellent. So that's correct. And then we return the output. And then we're going to take that output and feed that back in as input. And we're going to do that. We're going to do that until what? Until what? How do we know when we're done doing that? Would be my question. How do we know when we're done with this loop? Because again, the problem is that it's going to... I guess we measure the difference between the output and the last input. And when the output matches the input, that's when we know we're done. It's probably how we get through that. So maybe instead of calling it combined rooms, we can call it like the last iteration and the next iteration. Because the first call actually is going to take a different input. So what we're going to do is we're going to declare last iteration. Then we're going to say combine rooms. And we're going to feed in the cutaway rooms buffer as well as the cursored rooms. Oh, no. We're going to declare the next iteration as this. Actually, this is how we should do this. Cursored rooms. We can do this in one loop, actually. We don't need to do separate iterations. We can say while last, well, we do need to declare next iteration. This is kind of a cheat, but this should work. While last iteration is not equal to the next iteration. Yeah, I know. Sorry, I looked away from the... You must skedaddle, prepare for your own stream. Take it easy, Obsidian. Have a good stream. You don't know, you'd consider yourself the target audience, but all you get is random grocery shopping ads in German and political ads in Hungarian. Yeah, I don't know. I don't get a lot of ads. I specifically pay for services so that I don't get ads. Like, I give Amazon, I already pay Amazon for Prime, and then I even give them the extra $3 a month that they make me pay separately to not get ads, which is insane that I have to do that. All right, so what we're going to do in here, we're going to say next iteration equals combine rooms, last iteration. All right, so this will run between 2 and some number of times. Because the result of the first iteration will never exit the while loop, because the result of the first iteration... What is the system yelling at me about? Inline temporary variable. Oh yeah, so do we not... Is this not right? I don't think this is right. I actually think we can do this with... Well, no, we need to remember what the last iteration was. This isn't done. We need to say last iteration equals next iteration. We need to do that. Duh. So the initial last iteration is the cursored rooms. The last iteration is not equal to the next iteration. Hold on, I have to do this in the right order or I'm going to mess this up pretty badly. This is why I don't like doing recursive things. I have a hard time thinking about this. Hey, Voidblit. What up? Yeah, I don't see any ads on Twitch either. Because again, I pay for things. I have YouTube Red, aka YouTube Premium. And I have Twitch Turbo. I have the no ad tier for Hulu. Yeah, I'm allergic to ads. When I'm watching TV with like my parents or something, and they're just watching cable or whatever, and they just get ads for everything, I go crazy. I can't do it anymore. I think of Tim Rogers, who was able to turn off the TV for the exact duration that the ads would run and then turn the TV back on when the show would restart. But very few people have the kind of mental capacity of Tim Rogers, so. Or maybe I would say specific memory capabilities. Or characteristics, or what do you want to call it. I feel like I was able to do that at one point in very specific circumstances. Like when I would be watching Star Trek, I knew enough that I could like turn away to another channel during the commercials and then turn back before the commercials ended. But I don't think that's any great skill. It's pretty ballsy to like turn the TV off though, and then turn it back on. Try to just skip the ads. That's old school though. That's like not really something you can do nowadays in the age of streaming. All right, so how is this supposed to work? So the initial input needs to be this. And this won't work because we're setting. So we actually want it to, we want to reverse this. We want to say it's like this. Because we want to make sure we don't bust out of the loop initially. So last iteration is 0 because there was no last iteration. The next iteration is going to be cursored rooms. The last iteration becomes whatever the next iteration was after the equality check. Then we punch that in when we reset the next iteration. And then so if the call to combine rooms doesn't change the next iteration, then the next time we do the while check, we'll break out and we will have our output, which I guess I should just say something like combined rooms equals next iteration. I know I don't need to do that. I know it's wasteful to do that. Yeah, maybe I could just do this like this. There we go. Oh, this is actually not right. Oh no, this will be fine because this is going to reassign this. It's not adding to it, it's fully reassigning it. Combined rooms, cursored rooms, cutaway rooms, last iteration, or equal. Oh no, this isn't going to work the way I've written it. Oh no, it will, because we don't set the output based on the... Oh, no, this isn't going to work as written. Shenanigans, the ads don't bother you when they don't go overboard with it. YouTube's starting to get worse, and some websites are absolutely atrocious. For the most part, you just really don't care, though. Well, that's good to know, because we're going to have ads on YouTube eventually. Nix, you only watch 2 users on Twitch. I feel, and I'm one of them, I feel very touched by that. You're stronger than me. You don't have Netflix or Hulu or any of that stuff. I keep trying to get rid of one or two of them, but my watching interests are kind of diffused, so I end up quote unquote needing all of them, and or getting them bundled anyway. Kind of a shame. I need to work on it, because yeah, I'm spending at least as much as I would on cable just to get these streaming services. Probably spending more than I would on cable, honestly, at this point. Voidblit, you're watching DS9 for the first time. You realized you're in the place where Voyager's about to start. Ooh. I don't know when that is. I was never a huge Voyager fan. We can get into why later, but DS9 is it though. It's pretty close. I know there's some contention between Babylon 5 and DS9, but in my mind they're very different. Even if, one came from, stealing the idea of the other, but DS9 is great. Season 6 of DS9 is maybe one of the greatest seasons of Star Trek ever. It has so many absolute incredible perfect episodes. Everyone talks about In the Pale Moonlight. That might be my favorite Star Trek episode ever. In the Pale Moonlight is so good. So is what's the other one? The episode where the self-referential episode where they become sci-fi writers, that is also one of the all-time great Star Trek episodes. It's set in the 50s or whatever. It's the Pulp Fiction sci-fi era. That episode is incredible. You're middle of season 3? Oh, then the best is yet to come for you. The only real shame is, well, I actually don't know if that's true. We haven't gotten a remaster of DS9 yet. I don't think. Controversial opinion. You love Voyager. It's the one you keep going back to. Yeah, I should give it another chance. My problem was I just didn't get the premise. The premise made no sense to me at all. It very much had the Roddenberry no interpersonal conflict problem. I think if they'd made Voyager a little later, like after they'd kind of let go of some of that Roddenberry rules kind of stuff, I think Voyager, I would have been more into Voyager but my problem with Voyager is it's like, okay, half the officers are ex-terrorists, so they're militant terrorists, but that never matters. By the end of the pilot, they're like fully integrated, like regular Starfleet officers. What's up with that? Like they never, maybe I shouldn't say never because I didn't watch a lot of Voyager, but it felt to me like they just, it could have been this incredible serialized story, and I don't know why, but it just seems kind of episodic. Some random thing happens every week. I don't know. I felt like they didn't take advantage of their setup. I think it's a great setup, and I felt like they didn't do anything with it. It's not brought up much, if at all. It makes no sense. Half of the crew are terrorists. Like, they just put on the uniform and they completely change into different people. It's like, you could have had this really interesting us versus them. Like, you could have had this real conflict between the two halves of the crew. Like, but yeah, conflict between members of the crew is not something that was allowed in classic Star Trek. All right, I have gotten nothing done today. I'm gonna try. Let's try to get this, at least this recursive function done. I'm not really feeling very productive or focused right now. Maybe it's all the day job stuff, or maybe it's the holidays. I don't know. Starship, you should watch some Star Trek. You should. I'm sure there's some like internet lists of like where to get what episodes from like each series to watch to like get an idea. Because I would have a hard time telling someone to watch a whole series from beginning to end. With DS9, you get a lot of good conflict with Kira. You get a lot of good conflict with everybody. Everyone has very strongly opinioned. Even like Worf. Like you get major conflicts between everyone. It's great. Dax, Kira, Worf. And a lot of the main characters are not Starfleet. Like Kira, Quark, Garrick, plain simple Garrick, Nix. You do watch movies and shows from time to time. You also pay for it. Just do different avenues, a lot less intrusive. Yeah, Netflix has cracked down on a lot of stuff recently. Yeah, that's a pet peeve of mine. The fact that you can't get HD streaming when you're watching through a web browser. You can only get it when you're on like an app, on like a TV or something. It drives me insane. That happens to me all the time when I'm trying to watch Star Trek on my second monitor, which is a 4K monitor. And I just get like shitty web quality, even though I pay for full HD. Like, annoying. Voidblade, it's the chat's fault. It's not. It's never the chat's fault. Well, I wouldn't say never, Nix, but where would you even be able to find these shows to watch it? All of Star Trek is on Paramount Plus. I think. That's where I watch it. Nanigans, you're not feeling very productive either. You just got one more task to hammer out, though, and you can deal with the rest on Monday. Nice, nice. Yeah, get out of here. Disconnect. Disconnect for a bit. Okay, so this isn't going to work because we don't set the output from the input, but when we return the output, the thing I have to make sure we don't do is we need to not include the initial room in our own cutaway. So cursored rooms are the initial rooms, the initial quote-unquote rooms, and one of them might be included, but one of them specifically shouldn't be. Like whatever the furthest back room is, shouldn't be getting cut away. In the case of we're trying to cut away multiple rooms, or our cursor is on multiple rooms. Like if our cursor is on 2 rooms, only the room in front should be cut away. So if we set combined rooms to be cursored rooms, and then we set last iteration to be that, and then we set combined rooms to be the result of the combined rooms function, and we feed in the cursored rooms. And it's an assignment. It's not like an or equal, like we're just straight up overwriting. So that's correct. But what happens when we go to feed this in again? Because then we're going to feed in this thing. And so this is not going to include... Okay, no, so these need to be separate. So we need to say next iteration equals cursored rooms. I do need another variable defined. Let's say block rooms, combined rooms equals 0. So we need to say next iteration equals this. And then we need to say combined rooms or equals next iteration. So that way we can build the iteration. I think this is how we're going to achieve what we want to achieve here. We need an accumulator, essentially. But we need to keep the inputs and outputs clean. And I think this achieves that. We'll see. Can this be static? It can be static. You specifically bought some Google thing to watch shows. Turns out you also need a 4K monitor to get good quality. Be careful, it might not be a monitor. You might need a TV, or you might need to use the app. That's the problem I get, is when you use just a web. When you just go to the website, you get shit web browser quality. The one thing I haven't tried to do is install the app on my computer. If the Paramount Plus website gives me bad quality, what I haven't tried is installing the Paramount Plus app on the computer. That might fix it. It might not, but it might. That is annoying, Void Blit. Yeah, I hate the fracturing of all the stuff. You'll have to look into it. You've been on the lookout for a good show to binge. How sensitive are you to CGI quality? Sapphire. Nix, that's another thing that makes you so mad. Every single big company now have their own platform. So if you want to watch everything, instead of like back in the day, you'd watch it on Netflix, you have to go to 6 or 7, 8 different websites just to watch what you want. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. That's the irony. The great irony of the app, the age of apps. I should just start dropping some services though. Problem is, some of the ones that I would consider getting rid of, I've got a good deal bundling them. So I have to look. If I drop the service that I don't think I need, but I've got that service bundled with 2 other services, then what is the cost of the remaining 2 services unbundled, right? If it's equal to or less than the full bundle, what are we doing, right? It's horrible. They really get you. They really get you. All right, so I think this recursion is going to work. I think this recursion is going to work. So we'll get this combined rooms struct out as our end point, and this is all the rooms that we need to cut away. And then now we do the thing where we loop through initially the Z index that we're currently on. And for us, Z index is verticality. It's not depth with the camera, it's verticality. It's you know, the draw order in terms of like up down. Don't ask me why. I have a weird, for some reason I have like, I picked a very strange coordinate system for the tile maps. I think it's like the opposite of Godot for some reason. Like the regular Godot 3D system is like left-handed and my system's right-handed or something. Like I don't remember what the difference is, but I know I did something bad. I did a bad job when I set this up. But that's because, well, I'm not going to bother justifying why I did things a weird way. So what we do need to do is we need to gut the body of this because the body of this is not what we want. We want this structure of doing our Z index and then all the other Z indexes above. Huh, that's weird, Voidblit. Sapphire, not very sensitive. Kind of depends on the show and how well written it is, I guess. Okay. If you want something very bingeable that's written very well, but is very old and doesn't have very good CG, consider Babylon 5. That said, I don't know where you watch Babylon 5 nowadays. But it's one of the best sci-fi Oh, it's free on Tubi or the Roku channel. Allegedly, according to Google. I always recommend that to people who like space operas and who don't mind some 90s CGI. Admittedly bad 90s CGI. It's really good. It's where they got the idea for Deep Space Nine. But it's not Star Trek. It's got a very they wrote the first 4 seasons in advance, which is great. So they actually have a strong idea of where they're going. They ended up filming 5 seasons, which I think was a mistake. Because the 5th season kind of loses the thread a little bit, in my opinion. But yeah, the first 4 seasons of Babylon 5 is like an incredibly tight arc with amazing characters and storytelling. Like the rivalry between some of these characters, some of their stories are like stuff of myth in my mind. Like the rivalry of Londo and Jakar is like one of the best character arcs that has ever been written. When you binge, it's mostly as a second monitor show while you're doing things, so bad CGI doesn't matter all that much. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you might like that then. Because the story builds, but it does so in, like, subtle ways. It's, like, a lot more serialized than, like, traditional Star Trek. It was kind of the time where people started messing with serialization, because, like, Deep Space Nine did it as well, where you have, like, a story that actually evolves episode to episode instead of, like, the state of the world resets every episode. All right, let's gut this and actually rewrite this. So if not block rooms, index has any cursored rooms, continue. So we're not actually checking cursored rooms anymore. Now we're checking combined rooms. And we actually don't need to do any of this neighbor nonsense. All we need to do is we need to just say this. We can actually get rid of all of this, which is incredible. This is like how simple the process is. I'm very afraid of testing this. Star Trek, the original series, goes crazy. There's some crazy stuff. Star Trek, the original series for me is very hit or miss. Like, there are certain episodes that I pick out that I love. But yeah, that's more of an acquired taste, I think. That one. Even TNG has some absolute. Just I've been picking out specific TNG episodes that I love and that I can watch over and over again, and I've been watching them. Some of them hit so hard. I watched the episode where Data, like the episode with Lol. I actually don't want to spoil it, but the episode Data and Lol, and that's like a real tearjerker. Especially because Data can't feel anything. It's like crazy. I actually treated myself to the remastered box set of TNG on Blu-ray. I've got that to look forward to. And unfortunately means I can't just watch it on my monitor. I'll have to sit on my couch and watch it. But those were the remasters they did are so good. It's crazy how good they are. They like redid a lot of the effects for that. And actually, in many cases, they didn't have to because the effects were practical, and they had the originals, the original film for it. You love the alien TOS that's clearly a dressed up dog, yeah. Also, Ron Howard's brother. Probably the most consistent through line in all of Star Trek. I think they gave him a character in every single Star Trek show. Ron Howard's brother appears in, and I also don't remember his name. I just refer to him as Ron Howard's brother. But yeah, he's in the original series. He's in Deep Space Nine. I don't know if he's in TNG. He probably is, but he's in Deep Space Nine. He's also in Strange New Worlds. He's in Strange New Worlds. I don't know if he's in Discovery or TNG or Voyager, but there's some funny stuff. Some crazy stuff. All right, so this loop is correct, and the next set is actually the exact same thing. Which for each additional level, we just... If block cutaways index is not equal to cutaway.dec, continue. I don't understand this question. I think instead what we want to do is this. The equals... Cursor coords minus z minus 1. Cursor z is greater than 0. Z minus minus. Z is greater than 0. That's not quite right. We want z is greater than or equal to 0. And here we want if cursor coords dot z is greater than or equal to, is less than or equal to 0. Well, hold on a second. We can just say 0. Well, if it's equal to 0, we return. If it's greater than 0, we do this. Until we reach 0, we include 0. This applies, and then this also applies. Here it's deck cutaway. I think this is as simple as it gets. I'm gonna get rid of this because this is not what we need anymore. Arneo, sorry I missed your messages. The best new show right now is Pluribus. I've heard of that, but you can't binge it since it's released weekly. It's only on the 5th episode. Yeah, I should check that out. I've been pretty bad about following new sci-fi shows. Like, I haven't watched the Aliens show or Severance or Pluribus. Sorry about that. Yeah. I need to do better about watching current stuff. Yeah, I think this will work. Does this not? Oh, this can also be static. Neat. I think I should strive to make my system static, but I feel like I don't have to. And in many cases, it's actually advantageous for the system to retain internal state. I don't want the whole class to be static because, yeah, I would, if we ever implement separate worlds, I would want to be able to have multiple copies of a system, but I don't actually think I want to implement, I decided early on that I didn't think I wanted to implement separate ECS worlds. There's reasons you would implement separate ECS worlds. I don't think I exist in that. Part of the reason is it really helps when you're doing like initialization over a period of time, because it lets you create and initialize things and then transfer them to another world. If I didn't mention it, you would have just thought it was background. Yeah, no worries. It's the season where people are just getting ill, you know? Yeah, I've been doing the opposite, actually. Like, I don't watch new TV. I've actually been mostly looking for old movies and stuff to watch. You can watch lots of essays on why this is true, but there's something... We've gone from... I mean, the most, like, clickbaity titles I see are people who talk about how we've gone from cinema to content and how things are just different now. And, like, I don't know how to express that thought in a succinct way, so I'm not going to try. But there's something different between a modern movie and a movie, you know, from the previous century, you know. 20th century film is just different than 21st century film, and I don't know how to express that adequately, but there's something about it. That said, I watched Blade Runner 2049. I thought I was going to hate it, but I actually kind of like it. I kind of liked it. I wanted to hate it, but I actually got to the end of that, and I was like, that was all right. So, you know. And, you know, there's still good stuff, especially in TV. I think I'm less strenuous about TV comparisons. That said. You wish they would make shows that aren't like 6 episodes every 2-3 years. That is a big problem. Like, I love Strange New Worlds. That's like a great Star Trek show, right? They get 10 episodes a season. Admittedly, they're pumping out these seasons pretty rapidly. But yeah, they only get 10 episodes a season, whereas traditional, all the originals, I say original, but the 3 big Star Trek shows from the 90s, you know, TNG, DS9, and Voyager, they all got 26 episodes a season, which meant that they were airing for half of the year. Like 6 months out of the year, you could watch Star Trek. Sometimes more than one at a time, right? Like, so there's stuff you just can't do now. Like, it's a lot harder to do like bottle episodes or like beach episodes, as they say, because it's like you have to do so much because it's so expensive to make things. Like Andor. Andor is probably the greatest, you know, sci-fi property in the last, you know, I don't want to say, probably since the movie Rogue One or something, right? Like Andor was brilliant. That show cost like $700 million a season or something like that. It was like, that might not be it. It might have been $700 million to do the whole show, but it's still like insane. Insane. Nanigans, movies are intentionally being made now with the understanding that you likely using a second screen while viewing, i.e. on your phone, doing something on a computer, etc. Yeah, maybe that's what they mean by it's content rather than being cinema. So they've started to adjust the content to have shorter, more succinct scenes with less subtle details that can be easily missed if you aren't paying attention. You know, I kind of get that, I guess. I don't know. And nowadays, there's only one way to write dialogue for some reason. There's one way to write dialogue now for like any kind of action thing, and it's the Joss Whedon way. And I love Firefly. I enjoyed the Avengers, but we need to stop. We need to stop Whedonizing every line of dialogue that's been written for the last 15 years. We need to stop doing it. It's insane. Arneo, you like tight miniseries that are kind of like long movies, but you also miss low-budget serialized content. You feel like there's no reason for this new Stranger Things season to be the most expensive season of TV ever. Is it? Is it like more expensive than Andor? That's crazy. Because Andor cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make. A lot of people would probably scoff if a new show came out that didn't look movie quality. Yeah, that's a huge problem because all the new Star Trek shows look like J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movie. For some reason, they decided that every new Star Trek property needed to look like the J.J. Abrams films. Which is not true, but I understand how they got there. Like the vast majority of all scenes in Star Trek, in traditional Star Trek, it's just like people are in a room made out of balsa wood. Like, there's an understanding that it's mostly a vehicle for dialogue and character development, but for some reason there's some other videos you can watch about how they've changed the way they frame shots, especially in a show like Star Trek or a movie like Star Trek. Everything's all close up and disoriented and totally removed from its sense of place. And, you know, Marvel's, the way Marvel makes films using their thing called the volume only makes it worse. All right, I should probably test this and figure out where the bugs are because I've written one thing today and I haven't even tested it. Let's test it real quick. I'm sure it's going to break because I actually haven't finished the configuration for it. But let's just see how it breaks. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to big screen this because I feel like it's going to fail almost immediately. Okay, that almost worked. That worked way better than I thought it would. We don't use cursor coords in the tile system? How is that true? Oh, it's because it's only for the cutaway. Crazy. It's more expensive than Rings of Power. Oh yeah, I totally forgot about Rings of Power. That was such a forgettable thing. I actually didn't think it was that bad. I actually kind of liked the last season of Rings of Power, but it's so forgettable. It's not like the Lord of the Rings films, which I will continue to rewatch whenever I'm like, you know, I need something that I can put on for 3.5 hours. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever rewatch Rings of Power. Crazy. I don't know. It's hard to separate modern trends in content making with like my own growth as a person, so it's hard for me to like understand the differences there. But also, I'm sorry we always end up doing this. I try to work on games and all we end up doing is talking about Star Trek and shit. You don't remember anything from Stranger Things? I've never seen that show. I should. I'm told that I'm missing out by not seeing it. I might dip in eventually, but I like David Harbour. You could rant forever about how prevalent the name actor's face close-up shot is. Yeah. There's no wide shots anymore. If you look at Star Trek TNG and, you know, its contemporaries, I actually don't have the vocabulary to describe the change. I'll let whichever YouTube content creator explain it. But yeah, things have changed. War has changed. War has changed, but also war never changes. It's a paradox. Much better than other things we could be talking about. Good point, Sapphire. All right, so why do I think... Well, for one thing... So you don't own that. Well, I'll wait a second to delete all that. So, for one thing, we're not actually getting the cutaway loop for the second set here. Block cutaways, block rooms. Oh, do we actually handle the case where there's only one, or when there are no rooms? I actually don't think we handle that case very well. There's the case when there's only one room, and I'm actually, I just said I don't think we're handling it, and I think that might be part of what I saw. Rhiannon Journey, you're rewatching Stranger Things, and you've realized how much you love various events and scenes in every season, but your view of the show overall is just meh. Right now you're hyped about it, but when you're not watching it, it's meh. Yeah, that's how I felt about Rings of Power. I thought they do some really cool stuff in there. Like, I think the story of Celebrimbor is like really tragic and moving. But also I just don't care. But when it's over, I'm just like, eh. Which is totally different than Andor. Because when I'm done watching Andor, I'm like, wow, that was incredible. Like, so I don't know. It's not impossible to do that sort of, to like do good stuff nowadays, but I don't know. Wait, there's a Lord of the Rings show. Yeah, there is, Nix. They've had 2 seasons already, and it's cost about $1 billion to make. All right, so where do I think the error is? I think there might be a problem here in the compartment hierarchy when we build it out. Because actually the compartment hierarchy needs to... Well... I actually don't know how we handle this case. The case of 0. I'm actually not quite sure. Are we doing the compartment hierarchy right? So cutaway rooms, dot clear, game edit systems, dot settled blocks. If count is greater than 1, get the compartment hierarchy going. Can this handle a count of 1? How have I written this? I'm actually not sure how we're declaring the size of the hierarchy, because we actually need to redeclare it at some point. I think there's a problem with the hierarchy, the way we're setting it up. Is there a problem with the way we're syncing back the changes? Preview cutaway rooms, buffer comp. Preview blocks. So we take this, we take the settle blocks. So we're syncing back the changes. That doesn't actually make a lot of sense. This isn't actually how we do it. You know, maybe that's the problem we're seeing, is the sync back is written wrong. It's written for the other approach. That's probably it. Gotta go for real? No worries. Take it easy, Rhiannon. This has been fun. Arneo, you enjoyed the new season of Stranger Things, even though similarly you had no memory of the plot. Yeah, I should give it a try. It seems fun. It's also from an era that's, you know, fun, that everyone has, you know, nostalgia for. kind of before my time in terms of actually lived experience, but it's definitely the pop culture era that people my age are like looking back to, because that's what we grew up. It's what was around when we were growing up. Because like your decade is defined often by the decade before you, right? Like, so like while I grew up in the 90s, the culture that was most prevalent is the 80s, right? That was where all the, you know, music and the film and stuff came from. All right, so I actually think I need to wrap it up soon. We might need to figure out this problem tomorrow. It's amazing we had no hard crashes running this new code, but there's definitely some kind of problem with either the sync or the configuration because it's not giving me the behavior that I'm expecting. It could be as simple as the Z level stuff up higher is not doing what I'm expecting it to do. Like this, if not block rooms, index has any. Like this continue is a problem. Like I understand, actually I totally understand where the problem is. It's right here. It's because if you're obscured by the roof and the roof is part of the exterior, the roof doesn't actually belong to the room that you're in, which is maybe a flaw. That might actually be a flaw in the way I handle the compartmentalization, because we have a very robust process for horizontal room compartment neighbors and boundaries, but the vertical is not well represented. The boundaries between vertical sections. So maybe that's something we need to rethink. Chat, we failed. He was able to write enough code to expect a hard crash. I did expect a hard crash, but it just worked. So it's incredible. You're gonna head out as well, Nanigans? No worries. Take it easy. Hot chocolate with a bit of coffee. It's called a mocha where I'm from. That sounds good. Enjoy it. Take it easy. Enjoy the weekend if I don't see you. Your long weekend here. Quick spam channel points. Oh, thanks for the hydrate, Nix. I appreciate everyone hanging out with me today, even though I know it's a short stream. I try to do 3-hour streams, but I think I could go a little longer, but then we'd run an ad break and then stream for like 15 minutes, and I don't think that's worth it. So I try to keep it 2-hour increments when I can, or close to it. So I think it makes more sense to just stop here and pick it up tomorrow. I forgot to hydrate at the start. All right, I'll give you another. I don't believe you, but I'll give it another. Low effort for me to comply. No, I can see it here. You did give me a hydrate right when you came in. Oh, Ran and Journey asked to skip the station. I assume that was the cinematic station. Okay. I'm really bad at reading my chat names. I need to put more audio cues. But yeah. Appreciate everyone coming in. Still needs work. I really appreciate the resubscribe. Nanigans. A mocha has usually chocolate syrup on it too and whipped cream. No flourishes in your drink today. Just some hot cocoa mixed in hot milk with coffee. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. Yeah, traditionally when I've done a mocha, it's been with cocoa powder and not syrup. But you're probably right from like a Starbucks standpoint or something. That sounds good though. I might make some tea soon. It was a nice stream. I'm glad because we really just did one thing and it didn't totally work out. But hey, we didn't cause any crashes, so I can live with that. Honestly, my goal this week is to just redo the cutaway system, so we have a few more days. I don't really... I just want to settle on what our new cutaway model is, and that'll be enough for me. If I can settle on that, I'll be happy with our progress this week. So sit, stand, redeem is not enabled. I don't want to stand healthy by standing while on stream. No, the problem is switching from sitting to standing is kind of involved right now. But you're right. I should turn that back on because I should be standing for more of the streams. It has to do with I widened the camera field and it's a little, and so I had to bring the green screen up. So now it's really hard to move the chair out, but it's doable. It's doable. I should turn that back on. I've been having some issues because I haven't been I've been sitting too much. So actually it would be helpful to me to spend more of our streams standing. You were standing just as well. You could even join in. Yeah, I should set a channel point redeem that makes everyone sit stand. Good. But yeah, this was always fun. I appreciate everyone hanging out on the Twitch, whether you're active or whether you're quiet and lurking. Thanks again, Starlight Lacuna, for the raid. My thanks still needs work for the sub. Thanks everyone on YouTube. There's always a ton of you over there on YouTube, according to my metrics here, and you're very quiet. And I think that's just fine. I hope you had a productive time. I hope this meshed well with whatever you were doing, whatever you had going on.
Maximum.
I try to be good. I try to be good second monitor content. So if I'm achieving that, I'm happy. Talk to you later. Have a good day, everyone. Yeah. We'll be back tomorrow. So yeah. Smooth in a second. Getting in right at the end here. Yeah. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.